The PlayStation 5 has thoroughly admitted defeat. The news just broke that God of War Ragnarok has been completely and utterly delayed into next year because the morons at Sony Santa Monica could not get it done in time. You know, we see this pattern over and over and over and over again from Sony. When was the last time that an exclusive came out as advertised on the date that they slapped on the marketing material? You want to talk about setting false expectations. You want to talk about disappointing your audience over and over and over and over and over, yet still having them pistol whipped with Stockholm Syndrome to the point where they'll continue dumping money into your company to line your pockets because they think that you will release a competent product. Well, we've seen it time and time again, folks. Sony fails. It's all they know how to do anymore. Sony care about one thing. Jim Ryan cares about one thing, and that is funding his private retirement fund on your dollar, buying a yacht on your dime, and seeing PlayStation burn to the ground. You know, Alfred from The Dark Knight said it best. Some men just want to watch the world burn, and Jim Ryan has set his sights on Sony, and he wants to fan the flames as he burns the empire down. The topple of the giant in the industry is well underway, folks. You do not need to look any further than what we're witnessing in this absolute monstrosity of a joke from Sony in the current generation. I mean, God of War Ragnarok was never going to be that good to begin with. It really wasn't. All right, it's just another pile of manufactured shit Sony insists on shoveling out to you. They demand your money for literal films of games, and you pay it willingly. Have you ever stopped to look in the mirror and think that this is an end result of a product you funded? Because it is 110% your fault. I blame each and every one of you Sony ponies for the state of the industry in 2021 and beyond. You don't need to look any further than Sony's own track record to see this as a repeating cycle, a vicious cycle. The Last of Us 2 was delayed 18 times before it actually saw release, and it released to paid off critics telling the world how great it was, while meanwhile the users and the player base of the game came away with the most sour taste in their mouths. Nothing but disappointment, and those folks voiced their disapproval on the Metacritic user scores. But Sony has deep pockets lined with your dollar. All right, and they paid off the Game of the Year awards to give their trash heap of a game even more publicity. And that is exactly what will happen with God of War Ragnarok. First, Sony paid off the Game of the Year awards in 2018 to parade around and pretend like God of War was the Game of the Year when we all knew it was Shaq Fu, a Legend Reborn. Just like last year, 2020, they had to line the pockets of the Game of the Year awards with their own dollar because they paid them off and insisted that they name The Last of Us 2 Game of the Year when we all knew it was The Fast and the Furious Crossroads. The Fast and the Furious Crossroads is an underrated gem, underappreciated by the user and the critical base who reviewed it. And if you skip that one based on what these so-called journalists pump out saying that it's horrible, you don't need to think anything else other than the fact that the developers of the Fast and Furious Crossroads refused to write them a fat check and they got angry. All right. God of War Ragnarok is nothing. It is literally a movie in game form, cinematic cutscenes broken up by the occasional button mashing prompt to propel the narrative forward. That is all God of War Ragnarok is. All right. But I have insider information. Yeah, I know exactly why this game was delayed. It's only in part because Sony's cracking the whip and Sony Santa Monica is buckling under the weight of their demands. But let's not forget that they're dealing with a tribe of talentless twats who are employed at Sony Santa Monica to begin with, so you should have never expected them to get it done on time. But no, there's a third and a much more important reason here for the delay. All right. What is happening is Sony saw, and I said this before, go back to one of my first videos. I said that The Last of Us success was going to demand this and it was going to mandate this, and Sony was going to require it in each and every one of their games going forward. The fact is, the social justice warrior elements of The Last of Us 2 were praised. All right. So now God of War Ragnarok has to inject forced diversity and social justice warrior elements into their game. All right, we are literally talking about taking God of War Ragnarok as it is and pulling a Cyberpunk. We're rewriting the script, we're using it as a base, and shoehorning in social justice warrior shenanigans meant to appeal to the same clowns that ate up The Last of Us Part 2 because of completely needless plot points. All right, it is an absolute joke, and I blame Sony. I blame Sony Santa Monica, and I blame you. Every single one of you insist on paying for this trash, and then you regret it. I know you regret it. I know that nobody really buys these games and Sony inflates their sales numbers, but there are actual people out there who claim to be fans of God of War, and they're liars. All right? They are absolute liars who have convinced themselves. They have buyer's remorse, but they want to convince themselves that the product they paid for is an actual, tangible, verifiably good piece of software when it's not. It belongs in the trash. It belongs in the trash just like every other major AAA title Sony has put out, and it's so disappointing. Sony used to be a good developer. Sony used to take creativity by the balls and show the industry how it was done. But their fall from grace is like a car crash. You feel for them, but you just can't look away. God of War Ragnarok is shaping up to be the biggest disappointment of 2023. Note that I said 2023 for two reasons. One, Sony still refuses to put a date on it, despite the fact that they just confirmed the delay. And two, this is how Sony operates. Delay, delay, delay. They basically blue ball their entire fan base until the point where they finally get the game in their grubby little hands that they would literally take actual literal shit and convince themselves that it's worth paying for, convince themselves that they're having a good time playing it. And you don't need to look any further than the trash Sony has pumped out or is planning to pump out this year than to prove it. What, Returnal and Ratchet and Clank, these are your heavy hitters. And last year you had a remastered Spider-Man game they charged you again for, and you had Spider-Man Miles Morales, that piece of downloadable content that they sold as a full game. All right, Horizon Forbidden West is next on the delay slate. Expect that announcement within the next couple of weeks. I'm privy to information you're not. You need to listen to me and you'll stop being disappointed. And let's not forget the fact that this game was confirmed for PlayStation 4. Sony continues to reinforce the idea and the mindset that I've been promoting since November of 2020. There is no compelling reason to put a PlayStation 5 in your home. They have doubled down on the fact that they are absolute liars, and they have backtracked themselves into a corner. Jim Ryan wants to sell you a PlayStation 5. Well, he's doing an absolutely horrible, an absolutely abhorrent job at selling anybody a PlayStation 5 by porting all of the major exclusives to PC and keeping what little is left exclusive to PlayStation on the PlayStation 4. What an absolute clown. I don't know how you people support this dumbass. I don't even want to know anymore. Fact of the matter is, God of War Ragnarok is delayed, and you people that are excited for it are going to continue to be pistol whipped into Stockholm Syndrome. You do it to yourselves. I have no sympathy for you. Xbox Series X is king. Xbox Series X has always been king. All right? While you're sitting there crying because you don't get God of War this year, we'll be playing the best exclusive that's come out this decade. And yes, I am talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator, where we soar above the disappointment of having a game that you were looking forward to delayed because you bought into the lie that they wanted to sell you. You fucking clowns.